The Arcturian Group. Via Marilyn Raffaele. February 27, 2022. Welcome, dear readers. Know that these messages are brought to you with love, and the intention of bringing encouragement, information, and truth to you, the brave ones who chose to be on Earth at this time in order to assist mankind's spiritual evolution through the presence of your light and awareness. We honor each and every one of you, and are fully aware of your frustration with the seeming slowness of change, and disturbing situations continually happening the world over. However, know that all this was clear to you before you decided to incarnate, and yet you eagerly wanted to be a part of Earth's ascension process. You knew that your light and awareness would be needed, and that higher incoming energies would make it the perfect opportunity to clear remaining old energy for yourselves. Know that all is proceeding according to plan in spite of how it may appear when judging by appearances. It is a process, and cannot happen overnight. A great deal of old energy is presently clearing from Earth herself throughout the world, especially in lands that have been inhabited for a very long time. Energies formed from centuries of war, domination, struggle, poverty, and all manner of violence are now rising to the surface in areas desperately in need of cleansing. Dictators, and others in positions of power are beginning to sense that the power over they have always enjoyed is weakening, leaving them feeling threatened without knowing why. Fear is causing some of them to lash out in ways that represent their state of consciousness. However, these old ways are quickly becoming obsolete, because the energies that have maintained and sustained them, belief, is beginning to dissolve, and will continue to do so as increasingly more light penetrates collective consciousness. It is a time of mourning for many. A time in which the majority, both the awakened and the unawakened, are experiencing an unidentified sense of sadness. As the familiar begins to fade away, it causes fear of the unknown to those unaware that there are new and better ways coming, and so they continue to believe that in spite of how disruptive and painful some of the old ways may have been, they were, and are the right ways. Many of you are simply feeling this energy. It is not yours. You will find yourselves increasingly called upon to help those drawn to you with questions and concerns. They recognize your stability in the face of outer appearances, and want this for themselves. You will become, and many of you already are, teachers to those ready for, and seeking truth. However, even more important than the outer work is the inner work, your ability to continuously, and silently be the light that you are, for without the inner there can be no outer. You are spiritually ready to resist the temptation to quickly jump into heal, change, or fix appearances. Those days ended once you understood, and accepted that the only reality is that of one omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient God/source/creator/consciousness. Once this is understood, and accepted, what is there to fix unless the belief in two powers continues? When you live life from a consciousness no longer cluttered with beliefs of duality and separation, the energy of your enlightened awareness automatically flows wherever you are, because it is who you are. Allow your light to flow to the earth, people, and countries, and to all situations without attaching intentions as to how you think they should be. When you acknowledge the light and perfection already present in and as them, you are working from a higher level, the level of oneness. God alone is reality, and the forms of good and evil that you witness are false mind translations of the spiritual reality that underlies everything. You cannot make something out of nothing. The mind draws upon, and presents personal, and collective states of consciousness, consciousness being the substance form, which in the third dimension are usually conditioned by beliefs of duality, separation, and two powers. This is why the very evolved over time have said that the world is an illusion. The world is not an illusion, it is a real, perfect, and spiritual expression of God. Rather, it is mankind's hypnotism, and false beliefs about the world that constitute the illusion. You may say that this is impossible, and very impractical in the ordinary world where events of violence and discord take place regularly, but this is why you who are awake chose to be on Earth at this time. You came in order to seed collective consciousness with truth just as Jesus seeded the collective long ago. Increasingly more truth in the collective will allow those seeking higher and better ways to access it. This is the only way a sleeping world can rise out of its present density, and into the realities of the universe of God's creation. We are not saying it is okay to walk down dark alleys in questionable areas. We are not telling you stop locking your door. Living the spiritual life is the practice of walking the razor's edge. Allow your intuition to guide you as you go about your day. Take whatever human footsteps may be necessary and practical, but do it with an awareness of truth rather than fear. Living from within may seem difficult, if not impossible, as you observe personal and global conflict, but this is why only those spiritually strong and sufficiently evolved were chosen for the job of bringing light to an ascending planet. Allow appearances to be what they are without immersing yourself in, aligning with, them. Your job is not the same as those working to make things better through the three-dimensional belief system. Your job as light workers is to be the light through your realization that God alone is power, not a power over, but simply the only power. Allow the words, I, and the Father are one, to become your state of consciousness, your identity. This is mysticism. Over the course of hundreds of lifetimes, everyone's consciousness evolves in stages. First atheism, then into some sort of organized group, or belief system, then to metaphysics, and lastly to mysticism, or the consciousness of oneness. Many hesitate to move beyond metaphysics, because it offers new, different, and exciting tools that seem to work. However, metaphysics, which is based in new ways of changing a bad picture into a good one as well as being able to bring someone closer to God, often simply perpetuates the belief in duality and separation. Every person learns and spiritually grows through each stage, which is why it is important to simply allow others to be where they are in their belief system. When they are ready for their next stage, their higher self will guide them to it, and you may be a part of it. Proselytizing is a very ego-based activity. Mysticism is an attained consciousness of oneness which is lived automatically even when ordinary human footsteps must be taken. The world in general does not recognize modern-day mystics, because they live, work, have families, and appear to be like everyone else. In general, the world continues to think of mystics as they have been pictured on holy cards, artwork, statues, etc., eyes closed, hands folded, and with a bright light around their head. You who are awake, living in the world, but not of it, are today's mystics. The mystical life is a life of detachment from much that occupies three-dimensional thinking, and thus those living it are often thought of as being uncaring and cold by those living fully in the three-dimensional belief system. Being a modern-day mystic never interferes with being loving and warm, but rather embodies the very essence of these things. Mysticism is what you have been preparing for throughout your many lifetimes of spiritual seeking, questioning, study, and practice. As you move deeply into conscious awareness of your divine selfhood, many previous ways of solving problems, and living life in general, will continue to present themselves to your awareness, because you are used to, and familiar with them. However, you may quickly discover that ways, actions, words, ideas, etc., that worked well in the past for you no longer work as they once did. This is because you have evolved, and are no longer in alignment with them. Never resist anything, because resistance only makes that which is resisted into a something, giving it power and reality. Rather, simply evaluate every situation in the light of your higher awareness. Stop, go within, and remind yourself that nothing is power but God, and that God is governing itself as you. Then take whatever steps you are intuitively guided to take, which may appear to be very three-dimensional to others. Becoming mystical consciousness is a huge step, one that will take many more years, or even lifetimes for some, but you who read and understand these messages are ready. At some point every soul finally realizes that all the stuff designed to bring one closer to God is just stuff that will keep you believing that you are separate from God and all God's expressions. Nothing. No ritual, practice, prayer, class, crystal, oil, mantra, group, guru, or teacher can give you what you already have, or make you what you already are. Spiritual tools can assist, because they carry their own energy, many being of a high resonance. When you align with the energy of certain crystals, or oils etc., you can be temporarily lifted to their level, but it will always be temporary, because your own state of consciousness is what governs you. Use these things, love them, but never forget that spiritual tools are meant to be helps, never meant to become one's God. To continue depending upon spiritual tools, or some person in the belief that you need them, is a form of idolatry that will block further evolutionary progress. It is time, and you are ready. We are the Arcturian group,